Welcome to the technical track of UK. I'm Maciej Sławik. I'm the head of development at JH, and I'll be your host today. Our talks today will be 20 minutes long. The panels will be 30 minutes long, and we'll have 5-minute breaks for those of you who want to change tracks. There is no Q&A afterwards. The speakers will be available to you here around the venue, so if you want to talk to them, you will have enough time to chat. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Colin Tickle, the head of technology at SQLI, who will perform a presentation about low-code, no-code integration with Adobe Commerce. Please give a huge round of applause for Colin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is going to be a really quick talk because I get 20 minutes and I don't get a Jamie privilege of making it 40. So essentially, take a picture of this slide. It's got the QR code for my slides if you want it. I've kind of been doing Magento so long I don't even know what I am anymore, so I just put Magento enthusiast. I'm not really a developer anymore. So what's this all about? It's about low code and no code. So obviously, normally we're used to writing PHP and changing Magento through PHP and JavaScript and the like. No-code development uses a graphical IDE, generally with templates and components that you can drag together and make kind of the same thing in PHP, but without doing any code. If that doesn't quite work for you, there's a low-code on top of that. So again, you have access to the no-code components, but you can write small amounts of some language. In this case, it'll be JavaScript. So yeah, why kind of rethink everything? Why bother doing something different than PHP? I think as somebody who has to recruit Magento developers, it's really, really difficult. There's a really high barrier to entry to become proficient and professional at Magento. So trying to make that easier, break down that barrier, and let people do things differently is important. Obviously, it's a specialist role. It requires expertise. It requires you constantly learning and updating your skills. And it can also be really slow and costly. So constantly writing the PHP, deploying it, changing it, testing it, it can just be a slow, costly process. Again, on the same theme of attracting people to Magento and hiring people, it can be really tough to attract people to developing with PHP. For years and years and years, people have been saying PHP is dead. JavaScript's the king. Almost as long as PHP's existed, PHP's been dead. It still powers like 80% of websites. It's not dead. JavaScript's king, and yet it powers 2% of websites in the back end. So it's not true, but it's a sentiment that's out there in the market. Monoliths aren't cool. They're seen as big and bulky. I think there's a bit of a turnaround on that. Recently, there was an AWS article that they'd gone back to using a monolith because the microservices were too complex. So maybe they're coming cool again. And composable, everybody loves the word composable, even if they don't do it. So yeah, it's less about turning your Magento instance into a developer's laptop with stickers all over the place with your modules, and more about integrating it. So it's having a small interface of something in Magento side, which through observers and plugins in my instance goes out to a low-code service, and you can develop in there, and also kind of connect back out to APIs of Magento if you want to, and to APIs of other services. So traditionally, I guess people would call it a middleware. So the projects I've been working on was as much of a kind of a mind exercise for myself to see if it was possible. I've called it event thing just because I couldn't bother naming anything else. And it's very much about don't repeat yourself. So again, with plugins and observers, you're constantly writing the same code. The only repetition in event thing is limited to XML, so it's all done in configuration. It's composable, so you can send the object data to the middleware. All the integration happens in that middleware. And it's agnostic, so essentially the event thing is a small piece of code. It contains one implementation for using REST to send the events, but it's built in a way you can change it, do yourself, so you could use a message queue or whatever you wanted. Again, that middleware can be anything. It could be Java, it could be JavaScript, it could be PHP if you wanted to, just for fun. So the things I've introduced are a generic observer, which is for asynchronous outbound events, so alerting things. And on the event thing side, there's a standard Magento observer in PHP, which does event get data, uses JSON serializer to then push it out for a transport, and sends it somewhere, does something somehow, and then nothing happens. You just fire and forget all those events. And then his implementation module has to be built on top of event thing, which is standard events XML. It's really, really boring, this side of things. So that's the code. So you can see it's getting the data object from the event. It changes it to an array and sends it out for a process. The transport sends it somewhere and does something. And the implementation is just, again, XML, standard events XML. The plugins are where it gets a little bit more interesting. So these are for synchronous. You can affect the runtime. You can change anything that you could change with a plugin, which is pretty much everything. So there's a minor change in DI because essentially the after events no longer exist in PHP. They're just magic. So the magic _call method is used. Does similar thing. It gets the plugged in class data, uses data transport to send it somewhere, but instead of just forgetting, it receives that modified data back. So that's how you can change things in JavaScript. And in the implementation model, the plugins are virtual types in the global DI scope, and then it's standard DI XML with a little bit of a twist. So that's your PHP. Again, I'm going to fly through this because I'll demo it a bit more fun. And in the implementation model, you can see that there's a plugged-in class, which is product. There's a plugin offered by the event thing module, and you declare which functions you want it to expose. So this is doing an after get name plugin, again through XML. So you don't change anything in PHP, you just change it all in XML. So if you want you want the after get special price, you just put it in with the XML. And then in the front end, oh God, that's gone loud. Front end DI XML, it does the plugin which we declared as a virtual type and the plugin it's going to do, so it just runs like that. The low-code platform I'm using is Node-RED. It's free, which is a good start. It's done in Node.js. It uses a web browser-based Flow programming language. It's originally a side project of IBM, so if you're a big name behind a project, IBM's as good as it gets. It's been now release version 3 since 2013. The one thing I really like about Node-RED is it's like Magento. It's got a huge community behind it, writing nodes, helping each other write new nodes, helping people write flows. And if something doesn't exist, you can write it yourself. It's just JavaScript, it's Node, which is what I'll come to later. The applications are created by dragging nodes from a palette and connecting them together with wires. And you can create the flows. You can export them as JSON to show your friends, or you can even, it's 2023, I have to mention ChatGPT. ChatGPT knows how to generate the flows in Node-RED. A live demo, just because I like danger. So you got Luma, good old boring Luma. And this is Node-RED. So in my config XML, I've said that this is going to post to event thing Node-RED on the event thing URL using REST. I've got a DI XML, as I showed before with my plugged in class, is a product after get name. And I've also got a page config after get includes. And then I can go in here, and at the minute, as I show, it's just pure basic Luma. And that's because all it does at the minute is receive the request, send it out to this link, which sends it out to the response. It's just receiving a response, sending it directly back without intervening and doing nothing. But if I delete this link and change it to go through the flow, it's going to say, what have I received from Magento? I've received an event, which is a plugin. These are all, there's no code in here, it's just config, so I can add things, do things without writing code. So it's going to say it's a plugin, and the plugged in method is after get name, and after get name, it's going to set the name to something, which in this case is Luma and the original payload. So it'll be a Luma product. And the CSS is going to get set in here again, which is just, again, some small configuration which sets some CSS, which is going to change the color. So if I deploy this now and reload Magento because I've got block and full page off, it should change color. And all the products are now Luma products, so Luma, Breathe, Easy, Tank, and that's pretty much all it is. But yeah, let's make it a bit more interesting. So I said before, if I want a new plugin, I can go to my XML, I can uncomment this one, which is my get special price. Oh, let's try not to break my code. Okay, so I've got after get price now, get special price. And flush my Magento cache. Reload Luma, and nothing should happen. Good old cache flushes. Okay, so nothing's different, and that's because I've not done anything in Node-RED. So what I'm going to do now is add a new plugin, catch, which is add, if it's after get. If I type it wrong, it's going to do nothing still. After get special price, and put that in here. Done. And it'll come up with another node here, and I'm going to do something. So I'll drag a change node in, which is the easiest one to do, and wire them up. And we're going to set the message payload returned parameters to 1. Done. Deploy. And then hope that it changes something. So all your products are a £1. So there's no changes in PHP, just some XML, and suddenly all your pricing is different. Clearly setting everything to £1 is boring. It can be pretty simple. But what you could use is like call an API, get a new product name, maybe do some calculations based on some other thing in an API somewhere, all without writing any code. Again, I think that's the end of that demo, so that's the event thing. Slideshow. So what's next? Clearly that's kind of good on its own, it's nice, but it still requires people to understand a bit of Magento, go in the code base, deploy the code base, and that's not what I wanted to do. So the next thing is maybe, and I'm saying maybe because I'm not sure what to do with it yet, Magento, which is a project I've created. This reduces Magento development even further. It's underpinned by the event thing, which we've just seen. There's a little bit more modification to DI, because essentially everything is gone from Magento. So there's no more implementation module on the Magento side. Everything is in Node-RED. And you can add and modify plugins and observers in real time. And again, let's see if this one works. So let's go back to another instance of Luma. Wait while it caches. It's a little bit slow because that's on a $10 VPS in the cloud somewhere. So let's do an observer. So I have an observer on the customer address save after. So if I go into here and save address, I'll edit one of these addresses. I've got Mailhog, I'll just refresh it so you know there's no smoke and mirrors. I'll put Collins. And in the background that sent an event, and it's gone through and has done nothing, which is great. Oh, there you go. So it sent an email saying your address has been updated by the customer services team where you're expecting this change. And in the background, what that's done is it sent the event from Magento, it's into Node-RED. Node-RED has queried Magento APIs for an auth token, again using no code whatsoever. And it's got the customer's email address from the customer API, and it's sent an email with some content. So it's quite nice. So I said before, there's no implementation module, so there's no XML for this on the Magento side. What you can do is go into here, which is my custom node, which I've written for Node-RED, and say I now want a catalog product save after observer in the global scope, and I want a checkout cart save after. And the plugins are in JSON. So I've got the after get name. If I want the after get special price, which I put in before, get special price, I should have gone for a shorter function. Done. Deploy. So I've now got an after get special price plugin on the Magento side by changing it in Node-RED. And again, it's doing nothing on the front end. You can't really see anything happening at the minute. If I use this connector and say, actually, what I want is let's go straight for the pound sale. That's now going to go through this pound sale node, which is just pretty much what we said before, which is check the method, set the special price to 1, and put sale in front of the product names. If I deploy that and refresh here, hopefully Yep, everything says sale, and everything's not apparent because that plugin didn't exist. So I'm going to flush my cache, reload the page, and hope I typed special price right. Yep, so everything's apparent. So that's a plugin added in real time through no code into Magento. If you're in production mode, clearly you'd have to do more, but this is just in developer mode with some caches disabled, just for demo purposes. What can I do next? I should be watching for a time. How long have I got left? 5 minutes. Cool. Hopefully I'll be quicker. So let's go for my Kanye sale. My Kanye West sale. So it's Latitude Festival on Friday. You can put comments in and explain what's going on, which is nice. You can self-document it. So the marketing team have come up with a great idea. Luma is joining forces with the Latitude Festival. Ye will enhance your products with his infinite wisdom, and you'll receive discount based upon your geolocation latitude. So this is going to check, using MaxMind, your geo IP. It's going to work out where you are. It's going to see what the method is again, which we're getting seen now. So after get special price will discount by the customer's latitude, which is just, I said before, you can put low code in. So this is just a small bit of JavaScript to work out the latitude, turn it into a number and a percentage, and do some basic calculation on the price. And then it's going to ask Ye for a quote. So there's an API which gives you Kanye West quotes, which I don't know why, but there is. Some of those contain swear words. So clearly I'm doing a demo that's recorded. I don't want those. So I've got a filter that filters anything with swear words. And if I deploy it, hopefully all the product names will be replaced by Kanye West quotes. So one of his quotes is 2024 apparently. But yeah, these are all Kanye West quotes, and the discount is now based upon your latitude from your geo IP. So I can add it to my carts, it will be discounted. It's not just front end, it all exists. But yeah, it feels like we're just doing more of the same, so I'll change it a little bit now. And go for my closing down sale because Luma's done. If I deploy it, refresh my home page, Luma's now closing down. So it's changed the CSS, it's changed the CMS block again on the no-code side, not in Magento. There's no CMS changes, there's no theme changes, and it says that everything's now 50% discounted. So if I go into my sale category of bags, everything is 50% off. And that's kind of it. That's all there is to it. And I think I beat the clock. Good. So yeah, the code for this is in GitHub today. It is kind of a proof of concept, so be kind, be gentle. If you want to contribute, please do. If you want to try it, please do. If you've got any questions, just shout. All my details are there. My links are there. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.